Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You guys have been asking us to take a look at the factors influencing Bangladesh men's T20 cricket performance.
Yeah, seems like a lot of people are curious about that.
Definitely. So we're going to break down this research paper. It's called Analyzing Factors Impacting Bangladesh Men's T20 Cricket Performance.
Catchy title.
I know, right? And Bangladesh has some of the most passionate cricket fans out there. We've all seen their T20 team pull off some amazing victories.
Absolutely, some really talented players on that squad.
But then there's also been, that inconsistency.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sometimes they just haven't been able to put it all together.
Exactly. So what is it that really makes the difference between a big win and a frustrating loss for Bangladesh? I mean, is it just luck? Or is there something more going on?
Well, that's what we're going to try to find out. And that's
Yeah.
where this research comes in.
Right. So let's get into it. What are some of the things that jumped out at you when you first read this paper?
Well, what I found really interesting is that it goes beyond just looking at the usual suspects, like star players or big scores.
Okay, so it's not just about having a couple of big hitters in your lineup.
Right. It's about
Okay.
digging a little deeper into some of the less obvious aspects of the game that can actually have a huge impact.
Gotcha. So kind of like those hidden factors that can make or break a team's performance.
Exactly.
So let's unpack this a bit. The paper spends a good chunk of time talking about batting strike rates, and it specifically focuses on the middle order.
Yeah, that was one of the key findings.
Now, for those who maybe aren't as familiar with cricket terminology, can you just quickly explain what we mean by the middle order?
Sure. So in T20 cricket, you've got the power play, which is basically the first 6 overs of the innings, where you have fielding restrictions. So it's easier for the batsman to score runs.
Gotcha. So that's when you usually see the openers trying to get off to a fast start.
Exactly. And then after the power play, the field opens up. It becomes a bit more challenging to score quickly. That's where the
Yeah.
middle order comes in.
Okay, so the middle order batsmen come in after the power play when the game is sort of in that middle stage.
Yeah, pretty much. And their role is crucial because they need to be able to keep the momentum going and build a solid platform for the later overs.
Makes sense. So the paper's saying that it's not just about how many runs these middle order batsmen score, but how quickly they get them.
Precisely. And that's where the strike rate comes in.
Right. So remind us again, what exactly does strike rate mean?
Sure. So the batting strike rate is basically a measure of how many runs a batsman scores per 100 balls faced.
Okay, got it. So a higher strike rate means they're scoring runs more quickly.
Exactly. And in T20 cricket, where every ball is precious, that speed of scoring is really important.
So why is that such a big deal? I mean, why is a high middle order strike rate so crucial for success in T20?
Well, think about the nature of T20 cricket. It's a fast-paced game. It's all about momentum and putting pressure on the opponent.
Right. It's kind of like a sprint. You got to go all out from the start.
Yeah, exactly. And if the middle order batsman can maintain a high strike rate, it forces the bowling team to take more risks, which in turn creates more scoring opportunities.
So even if a batsman isn't hitting boundaries all over the park, just keeping the scoreboard ticking over at a good pace can really rattle the opposition.
Absolutely. It puts a lot of pressure on the bowlers and the fielders, and it can swing the momentum of the game.
So it's almost like a psychological game within a game.
Yeah, you could say that. The pressure just keeps building when the runs are flowing freely. And it can be tough for the bowling team to stay composed.
That makes a lot of sense. And the research actually found that there's a direct correlation between middle order strike rate and win percentage.
Yeah, that's right. Teams with a middle order strike rate above 140 were significantly more likely to win their matches.
Wow. So that really underscores how important it is for Bangladesh to have those middle order batsmen who can score quickly and put pressure on the opposition.
Absolutely. It's a key area for them to focus on if they want to improve their T20 performance.
I'm starting to see how these seemingly small details can actually have a huge impact on the overall outcome of the game.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's all about those fine margins in T20 cricket. And the research really highlights how important it is to get those little things right.
Okay, so we've talked about middle order batting strike rates,
Yeah.
which is fascinating in itself. But the paper doesn't stop there. What's another key takeaway that stood out to you?
Well, another really important factor that the research highlights is death bowling.
Okay, now this is something I think we've all experienced as cricket fans. Those nail-biting finishes where a few bad balls in the final overs can completely change the game.
Oh, for sure. We've all seen those matches where it comes down to the wire,
Mm.
and it's just a matter of who can hold their nerve in those crucial moments.
Exactly. So what does the research say about death bowling and its impact on Bangladesh's performance?
Well, basically, it emphasizes that restricting runs in those death overs is absolutely crucial for Bangladesh's chances of winning.
So it's not just about taking wickets. It's also about making it difficult for the batsman to score freely in those last few overs.
Right. And that requires a certain type of bowler, someone who can handle the pressure, execute their plans, and deliver those crucial dot balls when it matters most.
You know, it's interesting. When you think of some of the great death bowlers in the history of the game, guys like Lasith Malinga or Dale Steyn, they almost seem to have this aura of calmness about them.
Yeah, totally.
Like they thrive under pressure.
Right. It's like they're almost in their element when the game is on the line.
I think that's a great observation. And it really highlights the mental aspect of death bowling.
Okay, so it's not just about having a good Yorker or a deceptive, slower ball.
Nope. It's about having the temperament and the mental fortitude to deliver under immense pressure.
So it's as much a mental battle as it is a physical one.
Absolutely. And that's something that Bangladesh needs to develop in their bowlers if they want to be more successful in those close games. All right, so we've got these two key areas: explosive middle-order batting and ice-cold death bowling. But it sounds like the paper doesn't stop there. There's another factor that might surprise some people.
Oh, yeah. This one often gets overlooked, but it can be just as important as batting and bowling.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Lay it on me. What is this mysterious third factor?
Fielding.
Fielding, really?
Yep, you heard that right. Fielding.
I know some people might be thinking, isn't fielding just about catching a few balls? But it sounds like the research suggests it's a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah. Especially in the fast-paced world of T20 cricket, where every single run matters, the margin for error is incredibly small.
Okay, so how does fielding specifically impact Bangladesh's T20 performance? What does the research say about that?
Well, it basically highlights that even seemingly small mistakes in the field
Yeah.
can have big consequences.
Like what kind of mistakes are we talking about here?
Well, a dropped catch, a misfield, even just a fumble, those can all lead to extra runs, lost momentum, and it can really impact the morale of the bowling team.
Right? So it's like a ripple effect.
Yeah.
One small error can snowball into something much bigger.
Exactly. And the paper mentions that Bangladesh has actually had some close losses. That can be attributed, at least in part, to fielding errors.
Oh, wow. So they've actually lost games because of missed catches or missed fields.
Yeah, and it's not just about the runs that are given away. It's also about the psychological impact. It can really deflate the bowlers when they see their teammates making mistakes in the field.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be tough. You're putting in all this effort to restrict the runs, and then a drop catch or a misfield just gives the opposition a freebie.
Exactly. And it can be really hard to recover from that mentally.
Okay, so it's clear that fielding plays a much bigger role in T20 cricket than maybe some people realize.
Absolutely. It's not just about having a few guys who can take a good catch. It's about having a team of agile, athletic, and focused fielders who can consistently make those crucial plays.
All right, so we've got these three key areas now: middle-order batting strike rates, death bowling, and fielding, where Bangladesh can really make a difference.
Yeah.
But the paper also touches on something that's a little harder to quantify.
You mean like something that's not as easy to measure with stats and numbers?
Exactly. Something that's more about the mental side of the game.
Right. Yeah, the research notes that nerves and poor decision-making in key moments have hurt Bangladesh in the past.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that could be a factor, especially in a high-pressure environment like T20 cricket.
Oh, absolutely. The stakes are high, the crowd is roaring, and every decision you make can have a huge impact on the game.
It makes you wonder, how do you prepare for those pressure cooker moments? Is it something you can train for? Or is it just about having those nerves of steel?
Well, it's probably a combination of both. Some players are naturally more composed under pressure, but the mental game is definitely something that can be developed and strengthened over time.
So it's like any other skill. The more you practice, the better you get at it.
Exactly. And there are specific techniques and exercises that players can use to improve their mental toughness and their ability to handle pressure.
Like what kind of techniques?
Well, things like visualization, mindfulness, maybe even working with a sports psychologist.
Okay, so it's about training your mind as well as your body.
Absolutely. And I think Bangladesh is starting to recognize the importance of that mental aspect.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Mhm.
It's amazing to see how much goes into building a successful T20 team.
Yeah, it's definitely not as simple as just having a bunch of talented players.
It's about having a holistic approach that addresses every aspect of the game.
Right, from the physical skills to the mental toughness to the strategic planning and the team culture.
It really is a complex puzzle, isn't it? And there's no
Yeah.
one-size-fits-all solution.
Exactly, but that's what makes it so fascinating. And that's why this research is so valuable. It gives us some insights into the specific areas where Bangladesh can improve.
So it's like a roadmap for success.
Yeah, you could say that. It's a starting point for them to identify their strengths and weaknesses, and to develop a plan to take their T20 game to the next level.
And that's exactly what we're going to dive into in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore some of the specific recommendations that the research makes for how Bangladesh can improve their T20 performance.
I'm looking forward to getting into that.
Me too. It's going to be really interesting to see what kind of strategies and approaches they can implement to become a more consistent force in the world of T20 cricket.
Definitely. And I think there's a lot of potential there for Bangladesh to really make a mark on the international stage.
I agree. So make sure you stick around for part 2 of our deep dive. We'll be right back after a quick break. Welcome back to our deep dive into the factors impacting Bangladesh men's T20 cricket performance. Now, before the break, we were talking about fielding and how even small mistakes can have big consequences in T20.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, every run matters. The margin for error is just so tiny.
Exactly. So I'm curious, you mentioned that Bangladesh has had some close losses. That can be attributed, at least in part, to fielding errors.
Yeah.
Do you have any specific examples that come to mind?
Well, I don't want to get into too much detail, but there have definitely been instances where, crucial catches were dropped,
Yeah.
especially in the later stages of a match. And those missed opportunities ended up costing Bangladesh the game.
Oh, wow. So it's not just a theoretical thing, it's actually happened in real matches.
Oh, yeah. And it really highlights the importance of not just having talented fielders, but having fielders who are focused
Composed.
and able to perform under pressure.
That's a great point. It's not just about athleticism. It's about having that mental toughness to make the play when the stakes are high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that Bangladesh can definitely improve on, working on their fielding drills, developing that focus and concentration.
So it's like any other skill. It
Yeah.
needs to be practiced and honed.
Right. And it's not just about individual skills either. It's about team communication and awareness.
Yeah.
Making sure everyone is on the same page and supporting each other in the field.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we've got these 3 key areas now: middle order batting strike rates, death bowling, and fielding, where Bangladesh can really make a difference. But the paper also touches on something that's a little harder to quantify.
You mean the mental side of the game?
Exactly. It's one thing to have the physical skill,
Yeah.
but it's another thing entirely to be able to execute those skills under pressure when the game is on the line.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The mental game is huge in cricket, especially in T20, where the pace is so fast and every decision matters.
The research specifically mentions that nerves and poor decision-making in key moments have hurt Bangladesh in the past.
Right, and it makes sense, When the pressure is on, it's easy to let your emotions get the better of you and to make mistakes that you wouldn't normally make.
So how do you prepare for those pressure cooker moments? Is it something you can train for, or is it just about having those nerves of steel?
Well, it's probably a combination of both. I mean, some players are naturally more composed under pressure, but the mental game is definitely something that can be developed and strengthened over time.
So it's like any other skill.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the better you get at it.
Exactly. And there are all sorts of techniques and exercises that players can use to improve their mental toughness and their ability to handle pressure.
Like what kind of techniques?
Well, things like visualization, mindfulness meditation, breathing exercises, even working with a sports psychologist.
So it's about training your mind as well as your body.
Exactly. And I think more and more teams are starting to recognize the importance of the mental game.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can stay calm and focused under pressure, you're going to make better decisions.
Yeah,
And you're going to be more likely to execute your skills effectively.
absolutely. And in a close game, those small margins can make all the difference.
So it sounds like Bangladesh has a lot of work to do in this area. If they want to become a more consistent T20 team.
Yeah, but I think they're on the right track. They've got some talented players, and they're starting to embrace a more holistic approach to the game.
Okay, so we've talked about individual skills and mental toughness. But what about the bigger picture? What about the system and structure that's in place to support the development of T20 talent in Bangladesh?
That's a really important point. And it's something that the research also touches on. It's not enough to just have a few good players. You need to have a system that consistently produces talent and prepares players for the demands of international cricket.
So what does that kind of system look like?
Well, think of it like a pyramid.
Mm.
At the base, you have grassroots cricket development, introducing young players to the game, teaching them the fundamentals, and nurturing their passion for the sport.
Okay, so that's where it all starts. building a strong foundation at the grassroots level.
Exactly. And then as you move up the pyramid, you have more competitive leagues and tournaments where players can test themselves against tougher opposition and hone their skills.
So it's about creating a pathway for talent to progress, from the very beginning all the way up to the professional level.
Right, and a strong domestic T20 league is especially important because it gives players the opportunity to experience the pressure and intensity of playing in a professional environment.
So it's like a stepping stone to international cricket.
Yeah, exactly. And the more exposure players have to high-quality T20 cricket, the better prepared they'll be to perform on the international stage.
So it sounds like Bangladesh needs to invest in both grassroots development and a strong domestic T20 league if they want to create a sustainable pipeline of talent.
Absolutely. And that includes things like providing quality coaching and facilities, creating opportunities for players to compete at different age levels, and making sure that there are pathways for talented players to progress through the system.
And of course, all of this needs to be supported by strong leadership and a clear vision for how Bangladesh wants to play T20 cricket.
Right. You need to have a plan in place, a strategy that everyone buys into, and that's aligned with the strengths of the players you have.
So it's not just about talent. It's about having a cohesive structure and a clear direction.
Exactly. And that's where the role of the coach, the captain, and the team management becomes crucial.
Right. They need to be able to create a culture of success.
Yeah.
And to instill a belief in the players that they can compete with the best in the world.
And it's not just about winning either. It's about developing a style of play that's exciting and entertaining, and that captures the hearts and minds of the fans.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Cricket is more than just a sport in Bangladesh. It's a passion. It's a way of life.
Absolutely. And the team needs to reflect that passion and energy in the way they play.
So it's not just about results. It's about inspiring a nation.
Right. And I think Bangladesh has the potential to do that. They have a talented group of players, and they have a passionate fan base.
Now that we've covered all of these factors that contribute to success in T20 cricket, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what the future holds for Bangladesh. Do you think they have what it takes to reach that next level
Yeah.
and become a consistent force on the global stage?
That's a tough question. I mean, predicting the future in cricket, especially T20, it's a bit like trying to predict the weather.
Okay, so you're saying it's unpredictable?
Yeah, there are just so many variables involved. But I do think there are reasons to be optimistic about Bangladesh.
Okay, so you're not writing them off just yet.
No, not at all.
Wow.
I mean, look, they've already achieved some impressive results, right?
Yeah, they've definitely had their moments beating some top teams, qualifying for major tournaments.
Exactly. And they've got this incredible fan base that's so passionate about the game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You can't underestimate the power of a supportive home crowd.
Yeah, it can make a real difference, especially in those close games.
But, they've also had those periods of inconsistency where they haven't quite lived up to their potential. So how do they bridge that gap? How do they go from being a good team to a great team?
Well, I think it comes down to consistency, really focusing on those key areas that we've been talking about, developing those aggressive middle-order batsmen,
Yeah.
nurturing those death bowlers who can handle the pressure.
And, of course, not forgetting about the fielding.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Fielding is huge. Making sure that they're taking those catches, saving those runs.
So it's not just about having those skills. It's about being able to execute them consistently,
Yeah,
under pressure, game after game.
exactly. And that's where the mental side of the game comes in. Remember the research highlighted how nerves and poor decision-making have cost Bangladesh in the past?
Yeah, that's a tough one to crack. You can practice all the physical skills, but how do you prepare for those pressure cooker moments when the game is on the line?
It's not easy, but it is possible to develop that mental toughness. It's like building a muscle, The more you expose yourself to those high-pressure situations, the better you'll be able to handle them.
So it's about training your mind as well as your body.
Exactly. And there are all sorts of techniques that players can use. Visualization, mindfulness meditation, even working with a sports psychologist.
So it's becoming more and more common for cricket teams to have sports psychologists on staff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's becoming essential. I mean, the mental game is just as important as the physical game these days.
And it sounds like Bangladesh is starting to recognize that, which is a really positive sign.
Yeah, they're definitely moving in the right direction. And I think with the right support and guidance, they can really make some strides in that area.
So let's talk about the strategic side of things. Do you think Bangladesh needs to make any changes to their approach to T20 cricket?
Well, I think every team is constantly evolving. And Bangladesh is no different. They need to keep analyzing their strengths and weaknesses and be adaptable. Maybe that means tweaking their batting order depending on the situation or being more aggressive in certain phases of the game.
So it's about being proactive and constantly looking for ways to improve.
Exactly. And it's also about having strong leadership. The captain, the coach, the support staff, they all play a crucial role in setting the tone, creating a positive team culture, and making those tactical decisions that can win or lose games.
So it sounds like Bangladesh has a lot of pieces in place, and they're starting to put those pieces together in a really promising way.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they've made significant strides in recent years. And while there's still work to be done, there's a real sense of optimism around Bangladesh cricket right now.
It's exciting to think about what they're capable of achieving,
Yeah,
if they can continue to develop and improve.
absolutely.
They bring.
And let's not forget about the fans. The energy and support of the Bangladesh cricket fans is incredible. It
Yeah.
really can make a difference.
Yeah, I've seen some of those matches.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is electric. It's
Well,
like party in the stands.
Exactly. And I think that kind of support can really inspire the players to push themselves and to perform at their best.
So to all the Bangladesh cricket fans out there, keep believing, keep cheering, and keep supporting this team because you play a vital role in their journey.
You really do. The fans are the heart and soul of Bangladesh cricket.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. We've explored the stats, the strategies, the psychology, and the passion of Bangladesh T20 cricket. It's been a real eye-opener.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you about it.
Thanks for joining us, and thanks all of you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Bangladesh T20 cricket.
Until next time.